Ever since a baby, I've been trying to get away, trying to lock in the guap, trying to block with the pain. I'm a blind old boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box, and I'm copping the pain. We off to the stars, so a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Sheddy. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know what the bronze, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the Randu. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, not taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Yankee and the Brit, and we got some more NFL talk with the draft right around the corner.
Yeah, draft's right around the corner, so it's time to finish off these off-season breakdowns. Today, we're looking at the AFC East. We're looking at the AFC East, their off-season moves so far, and what we think they need going forward. So the team needs of the New York Jets, the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, and the Buffalo Bills. And we'll talk a few predictions as well going into the next season as well. But Jay, as we always do, we start off with a little NFL news roundup here. And there's been some decent things happening, but we're in that kind of like quiet season where just everything is about the draft currently. And Jay, one of the big stories that I see coming out, and I want to get your take on it, is Sheduer Sanders is kind of like having this. People are still picking him at the top in mock drafts, but then some other mock drafts have him moving down all the way down to Pittsburgh in the draft as well. Can you explain the Sheduer Sanders evaluation and the potential slide of Sheduer Sanders?
Well, it's either a bunch of smoke screens because that happens this time of year, or people if they're not sold on him. But I am begging the universe to send Sheduer Sanders falling down the board to where he's still sitting there at 24, so the Cleveland Browns can trade back in with the Minnesota Vikings and give us a fucking oversized load of picks to go get Sheduer back in the first round. That's what I'm praying for, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think at worst, somebody trades up into the teens to get him if he's sliding. I still don't know if I believe he gets past New York. Like I think that's a match made for both of them, and I really think if the Browns stick and pick, they're going to take Carter. I just think they will. I think a pass rusher is more important to what you got than even an elite corner or receiver, right, at this point. And Myles Garrett and Carter coming off the edge, I don't know. I think that makes for a nasty defense and helps out any corners you have back there. And then you and I talked about this. Like, if you're Travis Hunter, what do you do with him, right? Like, if you have him. But if I'm him and you're going to make me choose, I want to play receiver because they get paid more.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with the Browns, I don't think there's anything they can do at the quarterback position this year that's positive. Like there's no positive for him.
Don't they have footsteps though? They brought Flacco
They've just signed footsteps. So they've just signed footsteps, which to me is like, okay, well, we'll just pay footsteps because actually, do you know what isn't that cheap? The contract for the second draft, for the second overall pick. Like, that's a lot of money to be invested into the quarterback position if they take the contract for the second overall pick in the draft as well. Like, with the Deshaun Watson contract and then with the quarterback position, it's not crazily cheap, the second overall pick in the draft in terms of contract, especially if you're Sheduer Sanders, and I imagine you have some of the best agents negotiating your deals for you and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all slotted, right? So it's just the offsetting language. And but if you think Sheduer's the guy, you do it, and then you make up for the fuck up you did with Deshaun Watson. But I do like seeing the owner Haslam come out and own that this year. He was like, "That shit's on me."
Yeah, like well done. Like, well done for saying it. But yeah, you've basically destroyed your franchise for still probably the next 3 years to come. But that's fine.
But at least he admitted it. He didn't try to pawn it off on the Andrew Berry. And,
100%.
You know,
and Kevin Stefanski and stuff like that gets away from it. I feel like they'll take Abdul Carter as well. I feel like that fits them. I feel like that fits them as well. And I don't think that Travis Hunter makes a huge difference for them either, just because of what they've got going on at wide receiver as well. And I think Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are the two true blue chip players in this draft. So I think that does kind of explain the Sheduer slide a little bit here as well, because then if the Giants say, okay, Travis Hunter is the one other true blue chip player, they also need cornerback help. They also need wide receiver help. And they've taken Russel Wilson in the offseason as well, which we'll come to. Then the Giants maybe miss him, right? The Giants maybe go, okay, like, I'm not totally Sheduer Sanders. The Patriots.
You just sold me on Hunter with what you said, because you're like, they need wide receiver help and they need corner help. And I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, you just sold me that they might take Travis Hunter.
Yeah, and the Patriots have got their quarterback. The Jags have got their quarterback. The Raiders, I think, with the contract that they've given to Geno Smith, I think they've got their quarterback for the next season. But if Sheduer goes there, you can't rule out. All of these are like, I would take Sheduer. If I was the Giants, I'd take Sheduer. If I was the Raiders, I'd take Sheduer Sanders. And if I was, who comes after that as well? If I was the Jets, I'd also take Sheduer Sanders. But the Saints at 9, I think, is the perfect place to take Sheduer Sanders as well. I don't see him going anywhere outside of the top 10.
This just big thoughts right here, right? Big prediction. At 9, I don't care if Sheduer's there. It's Jackson Dart to the fucking Saints. I'm telling you right now, Jackson Dart to the Saints.
You think they like Dart?
Everything I read, they're in fucking love with Jackson Dart. Like,
all right. Well, there you go then, Saints. But I don't see Sheduer going out of the. I don't see him going out of the top 10, mainly Jay, because of the trade up option as well. Like, so I think the Browns in this market where everyone's saying trade down, like the depth is what's the good thing about this market. There's no the blue chip players. You actually probably get a pretty decent deal to trade back up if you're the Browns. So if the Browns could walk away with Abdul Carter and they could walk back with Sheduer Sanders as well, that's a draft well done for them, in my opinion, because the Browns actually don't have a terrible roster. Like, they're really screwed at one position with money as well.
Sheduer's perfect for Kevin Stefanski because it's a rhythm, timing, accuracy offense, which is, like I said, there is not one thing he does that you're going to go, he's the best in the league at that. But he is really good at everything.
And he's just super accurate as well. Like, watch his tape. He's super accurate, especially under pressure from a shit O-line. So a lot of this stuff is like, well, does he want to go? Will he be any good at the Raiders because he's got a terrible O-line at the Raiders? The Raiders have only just started to actually get a handle on their O-line. The Saints O-line is a bit hit and miss as well. The Colorado O-line, watching them play, I've just gone, that is the worst O-line play I've ever seen in my life. Like, watching the Colorado O-line play it's horrendous. And I know it's college, and I get that.
But it was horrendous for college.
Yeah, like, I don't watch loads of college football. I only watch college football in the aspect of evaluating people for the draft. But I was just watching it. I was like, that's just the fundamentals are just wrong.
If you watch Alabama, Georgia, Wisconsin, like there's other teams, they play, their offensive lines can play. That Sheduer was like running for his life. And they're like,
and he's not a good runner.
Travis Hunter too much. Yeah, because he's running for his life and he knows if he throws it to Travis Hunter, there's a chance he'll grab it.
And there's a chance that Hunter's open. Like, Hunter's route running is like, people are like, oh, Hunter's this athletic guy and stuff. His route running is unbelievable as well. So the timing is pretty easy to throw to Travis Hunter all the time too. And they played at the other college together, the historical black college. What was the one that they both played at before?
Jackson State.
Jackson State. They both played at Jackson State beforehand as well, so they have a better connection than every other. So Sheduer Sanders for me doesn't slide outside the top 10 because I do think that Cleveland will draft up. And Jay, this is also an interesting question for looking ahead to the draft. Do you think that this is a trade-up market? So we were talking before the show kind of about the tariffs and the stock market downturn and all of that kind of stuff. And we were saying about it's actually a good time to buy. Is now a really good time to buy in the draft. So I've been looking at it through the lens of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's like, do you know what? Like Mason Graham. That was
my suggestion.
Like Mason Graham at 5. Mason Graham is going to the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5 if you don't trade up for him, right? So that's a position to trade up to. And I think it doesn't cost you that much to go up and grab that guy. Like the Patriots, for example. The Patriots, I don't think the Patriots, we'll talk about them in a second. They're desperate in need for a tackle. The perfect place to draft a tackle is around the Cowboys draft pick at 12, right? That's a great place to take a tackle. So if you get up to 4, you can have Mason Graham, or you can, if you get up to 5 with the Jags, then you secure Ashton Genty. Like for me, I don't think it takes loads to move up. Buy low.
Right. And then that's where I think you're going to see most of the trades though in the back end of guys coming back up, like from the second round, because like everybody's been talking, there's not a lot of blue chip guys. And you're like, well, I got him with a 96 grade and I got him with a 95 grade. So, it don't matter if he falls or, you know what I mean? I think guys and everybody's saying like picks 6 through 50 are like interchangeable for teams on their draft board.
Yeah. And I do get that, but I do feel like in this, there's certain situations, right, where, so the Dallas Cowboys, for example, haven't had a good defensive tackle forever. So why not just go get the guy who is just clearly going to be a good defensive tackle at the end of the day, right? Like he's clearly just going to be a good D tackle. So just go get him, just go get the guy and trade up in a way that everybody wants to trade back down and take advantage of that. There are teams like the Vikings, right, where it's about filling out depth and all of that kind of stuff, where it's like, okay, yeah, trade back. So you look for those teams and you go, okay, for teams like the Dallas Cowboys, where actually the depth is okay, it's just it's holes for star players. Like that's a move up time, right? That's a time to move up and hit like those teams on the way down.
With the Vikings, I have a caveat. I want them to trade back, but that's because I am 100% convinced they already have a deal worked out with Asante Samuels for Monday after the draft, when it doesn't count for the compensatory picks. I truly believe they have a deal already worked out. And Monday after the draft, after 4 p.m. Eastern, they're going to sign Asante Samuels to like fucking $16 million a year or something. And he's going to come in for 3 years because Kawasi loves those 3-year deals for some reason. But okay.
Yeah. And
if not, they got to draft a corner right there at 24. If not,
you have to go get your corner at 24.
So I think the draft will tell us if that Asante Samuels theory of mine is real.
Yeah, definitely. But there's other teams like all the way throughout this draft where it's like you could trade up and get like a pretty decent upgrade on a guy, right? So like the Broncos, for example, have a really good team. They're just completely deficient at running back. So okay, you can take Omarion Hampton where they're drafting at 20. Okay. So you're drafting at 20. But how much does it actually take to try and jump the Cowboys? Like if the Raiders skip on Asante Samuels, how much draft does it take to move up to 11 with the 49ers? The 49ers are bereft of players everywhere, so they just need to fill out their roster. So they'll take the extra picks, right? How much does it take to jump the Cowboys to get Ashton Genty over Omarion Hampton? Like, I don't think it takes loads because everybody wants to trade back. So I'd watch out for a few teams making big deals to move up.
And that's if you're sold on Genty being better than Hampton, because I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's obviously with the caveat. Like, I am I think Ashton Genty's amazing. I'd take Ashton Genty after
I think they're both fucking amazing and
anti-running back.
different.
Yes.
And I just like the skill set of Hampton more. But Genty is probably more of that. You're going to get some more wow plays, but I think I'm going to get way more production all around. But, you know, it doesn't matter. It depends what your scheme is. And I don't think you can go wrong either way with either of those two guys.
Yeah, and I think there's loads of interesting moves from the second round to move back up, because, to be honest, do I think the Eagles really want to pick at 32? Like, I think the Eagles could probably be very happy trading back into the second and doing those kind of things. If Jackson Dart's still there, Jalen Milroe, his draft stock is really rising. So if you're a team who doesn't get it, adding the 5th-year option on a Jalen Milroe is worth it to go up and trade with the Eagles, a team that want to trade back, or the Chiefs, a team that will want to trade back. You know, I think there's loads of opportunities the Vikings, for trade.
Everybody knows the Vikings phone is open.
Yeah, definitely. And there's just loads of opportunity to move up.
I like what Kawasi said, though. He's not worried about the draft picks. He's like, we're going to go in, we're going to follow our board. If there's a guy we're going to take him. If the better trade comes, we're going to take that, you know? And I'm like, so he's not like scrambling to say we need more picks. And that you make bad deals when you do that.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears are an interesting case. So the Bears have two second-round picks. Do you put those together to move back up into to the Vikings per se at 24? So you give, or maybe you use one of your seconds and you use a third to move back up to move up to the Vikings at 24, which allows you to take a guy like Matthew Golden, or it allows you to take a Kenneth Grant. You know, it allows you to take possibly even an Amarian Hampton if he falls that far as well. If you're the Bears, I think they become an interesting trade partner for a lot of people.
Makes me wonder
too in the second round.
Since they're going so love with running backs, if Minnesota would take Hampton, even though they traded for Mason and have Aaron Jones, would they take Hampton? And like, because he's such an elite player and they're stacking that offense, you know what they're fixing the defense, but they're every chance they get to like make that offense better, they're doing it because they realize, one, offense wins you games, and two, Brian Flores can do amazing things with pretty good players.
Yes, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, Brian Flores actually needs guys who fit his scheme more than he needs the most talented players. Like, it's about scheme fit for Flores rather than guys who meet those talents. And Jay, a really interesting kind of scheme fit and player that I think fits really well with an organization is Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jay, why hasn't Aaron Rodgers declared where he's playing yet this season? Because it's pretty clear to everybody that he's playing in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, because he's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you think it's an ego thing?
I don't even know if he intentionally does the shit. I think he's just a weird dude. And I think he just, like the darkness retreat, right? Like, he went on this dark, which is the weirdest shit to me. Like, you're just going to sit in the fucking dark. Weird as fuck, but okay. And then you're going to decide to come out and play for the Jets. I think Rodgers is just this weird, overly introspective person, and he may like overthink everything. Otherwise, I can see him just not wanting to go to mini camps, but you really should be there if you're going to a new team.
Yeah, and especially with it's a lot to add into the Pittsburgh Steelers dressing room, isn't it? Like, Aaron Rodgers to add in there with George Pickens and like some of the other troublemakers that seem to be there in Pittsburgh is just a lot to add in. Like, if they think that Russell Wilson's a weird guy from before, like imagine when Aaron shows up at the door. Different kind of weird.
Teammates love Aaron, though. That's except for when Devontae Adams comes in and takes your receptions. But other than that,
yeah, Garrett Wilson didn't seem that keen. Mike Williams.
That's who I was talking about when I said that.
I think you mean the teammates that Aaron Rodgers brings with him to every single organization.
No, because Breece Hall and that offensive line loved him, those defensive players. I think it was just the Devontae Adams taking receptions away from Wilson that caused him with the most issues. But
yeah, where's Mike Williams?
I'll tell you who
He's
the New
gone back
York.
to
When
the
we get
Chargers,
to him, though, I'll tell you who the New York Jets starting quarterback is going to be.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a second. And Jay, I think we should start off. I was going to talk about Russell Wilson, but we can save that for. We'll save that for the next one. We'll save that for our next roundup because that's just later this week.
Quick.
But Jay,
the reason the UK gets shitty games over everybody else is the NFL believes that most of those fans that go there are Americans on vacation, and they're going to go anyway.
That's 100% true as of like 2-3 years ago, because like the cost of living since COVID, the cost of living in the US, the wage prices in the US have just like skyrocketed, where the cost of living is still shit in the US because it's risen with wage prices, but our wage prices have stagnated and are the same. So our cost of living metrics are like around the same. But then when you guys come here, it's honestly like fucking monopoly money. Like I live in one of the most touristy cities in the UK, and the amount of Americans we've just moved into a new house, which is why there's like shit everywhere basically. And York Walls is outside of our window, so it's like a old medieval city, and you can walk all the way around the defensive walls. And every single morning for the past week, I've woken up to Americans walking past my window, because it's just like Americans like on holiday, like in York and stuff like that. So I agree with that. With the Minnesota game last year, that was mainly people from Minnesota, I heard. From
they
being
do travel
so just
well.
The cost of
Green
living
Bay
is so
travels
crazy.
well. Yeah.
Like, well, it's also not a terrible flight from Minnesota. So like if the LA teams were to come over here, that is like a long ass flight and stuff like that.
I think for me to fly there, and I'm not far from it. I'm a 45-minute flight from Minneapolis. For me to fly to England is like 8 hours.
Yeah, really, as many as 8.
Yeah, but because you have
New
to
York's
land,
like 4.
because you have to go to New York first.
Oh, you guys have got to go to New York first, right? Okay, but airtime is like 5. But yeah, okay. Sorry, we're getting sidetracked. We're getting sidetracked here, but yes, I agree with that. There is a lot of touristy, a lot of American tourism at the moment, which is good for our economy. So thank you for stimulating it. It's about time somebody did, I guess. Jay, the Buffalo Bills offseason needs. So the Buffalo Bills obviously have Josh Allen, who is completely elite, but can the Bills keep him surrounded with enough talent to make the Super Bowl run and finally get past the Ravens and the Chiefs? Jay, what hindered the Buffalo Bills last season?
Can Josh Allen play as good as he did last season too? Can you replicate that? James Cook's not happy now from what we heard about being there. There's actually thoughts that they were talking about trading him. I don't know who would trade for him, just because people aren't giving up much for running backs. You know what I mean? In a trade, and you're not going to let a guy like him just go for nothing. So you're in a weird fucking spot with him. I like their receiving core. I think bringing Joey Bosa in was a fucking good move. Are they good enough to? I don't know if they're better, but I don't think they're worse, and I think the Chiefs are going to be worse. So I think that puts them in a better position.
Yeah, I think last year they were kind of hindered by. They could be a bit up and down, and there were times where Josh Allen kind of just had to play. There always has been for the Bills times where Josh Allen had to play just as the entire team. But this year, I don't think he did as much. He was a lot more sensible with where he was putting the ball, because the team was just built a lot more. It was their back end for me. So like the secondary was shot. They just got killed by injuries throughout points in the season. So they got hindered by injuries throughout. So for them, it's about adding depth to this, what is now a solid roster in a really well-run organization. And Jay, as you say, they brought in Joey Bosa. I think the Bills have had one of the most underrated free agency periods in the NFL this year. So they've brought in the likes of Dane Jackson to fill out cornerback, Kendrick Green at guard, Derek Forrest safety. They've got Joey Bosa, a defensive tackle. Ty Johnson comes back as a running back as well. And I think Joshua Palmer from the Chargers coming in is a really interesting pick, kind of coming in to replace Mac Hollins, who obviously went to the Patriots as well. I really like what Mac Hollins did for the Bills, and I think that might be a big loss for them, but very underrated moves there from
Palmer's
the
good
Bills.
Everywhere he goes. Palmer's been good everywhere he goes, so he should pick that up. They lose Rasul Douglas. I think that's going to hurt. I'm not sure that, but they do have like 10 fucking draft picks or something wild.
Yeah.
So, because they got the Vikings second round pick because in that Stephon Diggs trade, because the Texans had the Vikings second round pick. So now they got the Vikings second round pick.
Yeah. And it's not a terrible year to attack the cornerback position. So yeah, they lose cornerback, but where they're drafting, they can get cornerbacks like Trey Amos from Ole Miss, who I really like. He's like the ideal blend of like size. His movement skills are great. He's really good in coverage scheme with his versatility. Like I really like Trey Amos. I always quite like people coming out of Ole Miss. I feel like I pick up on Ole Miss a lot, but if they want to double up, they can get a Benjamin Morrison later on. Or they could get a Maxwell Hairston as well. So, but my pick for them in the second round would be Siobhan Revel from East Carolina. From the tape I've kind of watched of him at cornerback, he's been really good, a good athletic player to pick on day 2. So I think if I was them, I'd just be really addressing that secondary position for the Buffalo Bills. Where would you be attacking in this draft with the Buffalo Bills?
Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas.
I did wonder about adding positions to the offense to just supercharge Josh Allen.
That's how they got to win. That's how they got to win. And so I'm like, Matthew Golden's a perfect fit there. There is some corners though, but the thing is like some of these guys who are running fast 40s as a corner have tight hips, and like loose hips are like, I think the most important part about being a corner, because you got to be able to switch up. I'd rather take a guy who runs a 4.4 with good hips than a guy who runs a 4.3 something, but he's stiff.
A 4.3, a really, really fast 40, like a 4.3, is only incredibly important if you're always in man, in my opinion. Because if you're in zone, it's your intelligence that can allow you. Like, look at, like, weirdly, Stephon Gilmore actually plays a pretty decent amount of man for an old guy. But like, it's when he's in like zone, he's able to, like, his brain allows him to like cover that area, or his hips allow him to like move quickly to where he's got to be and stuff like that. So those fast 40s are great if you're in man, like, all the time. But zone is where that intelligence comes in, and it kind of gets taken away. I just think what I would say is that this isn't a great wide receiver class. Like, it's not an amazing wide receiver class. So if you want to take your wide receiver in the first round and then address a cornerback where there's a lot of cornerbacks later, then that makes total sense to me as well.
Yeah, and it's like we've talked about with running backs. It works with corners too. Like, there's a difference between speed and quickness, and quickness is more important at times unless you're trying to fucking keep up with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and I think that that kind of speed is what is really good to get to the NFL. But once you're there, you need to develop that quickness, like whilst you're there in those breaking out of routes. The other position of need, Jay, I would say, is defensive end. Joey Bosa, great pickup. They've still got Von Miller on the other side as well. So they do
cut
have.
Miller.
Oh, they cut Miller. Sorry. But Joey Bosa there. Joey Bosa is not going to play a full season for you. Like Joey Bosa is really going to roll out towards the end of the season in the playoffs. That's where Joey Bosa is coming in. So cover for Bosa with young players who can learn the craft from Joey Bosa. And there's some good ones to take there as well, like a Mikael Williams from Georgia. You can get a Landon Jackson from Arkansas. There's Shamar Stewart if he gets down to them from Texas A&M as well.
There's a lot of defensive ends that you can get in like the third, fourth round that are completely raw talent that haven't been coached up yet that you can coach up. But that was Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter was a third round draft pick who had 0 sacks in college. Think about that. But they saw the raw talent and then coached him into being what he is. And there's a lot of those type of DNs in this draft. So that's always an exciting idea. Thought too, is that you can get a developmental guy to sit behind Joey Bosa and, learn from a pro's pro.
Well, for the Buffalo Bills have history of that. Like Gregory Rousseau. Gregory Rousseau is that kind of guy, that athletic freak that they've now developed, and he's starting to really come into his own. Like whenever you play him, he kind of pops off the screen and stuff like that. Like that, Gregory Rousseau is huge. Jay, you've already mentioned someone who we're going to be talking about going forward, but Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins. Jay, what is going on with them this season? When at the start of last season, it was how far can they go? They've got one of the best coaches in the league. They've got one of these best rosters going. How far can they go? And now it seems to all be falling apart. And nothing says the Miami Dolphins falling apart more than Tyreek Hill's current situation. Jay, should the Dolphins be looking to trade Tyreek Hill? Who are the trade partners? And Jay, is he just more drama than good at this point with another 911 call?
No, he's still more talented than his trouble is worth, right? But I think your time may have run out in Miami, but I also think we started to talk about this last year, and I'm like, I'm not sold on McDaniel anymore. Like, I don't think he's leading this team, and I think we're seeing bad culture creeping in. I think it was all good when he first got there. We got this weird, eccentric coach who's an offensive genius, and I think he starts to wear on people because if you've ever listened to him talk, it's rough. And could you imagine that being your coach every day? And he doesn't seem, and maybe I'm wrong, but he doesn't seem the type who's going to lay down the law in the locker room either, right? He's not going to motherfuck you. And I think sometimes you need a coach who's going to motherfuck you. You know what I mean? And grab you and be like, we can't do this. And I don't think they have a great culture. And I mean, I don't want to bring him in and say he's a problem, but it's like, you got knuckleheads on the team who cause problems. You got Tyreek, you got Jalen, you got Jalen Ramsey. You got some issues there. Maybe it's time to get Tyreek out before he disrupts some of the other people who could be disrupted in all of this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's also stuff to say. If there's a city where you can get in trouble, Miami is probably one of the cities that is most easy to find a way to get yourself in trouble, right? And look, Tyreek Hill hasn't had a good time living in Miami by the sounds of it. Like multiple 911 calls to his house. Like there's been quite a few attempts where people have come to steal his shit, like while he's been living in Miami.
The incident with the police he had where they dragged him out of the car.
The incident with the police he had where they dragged him out of the car. Like, it's been a traumatic year in Miami for Tyreek Hill. So, and then if you culminate that with the fact that the team isn't really playing very well, there's some serious stuff that should be leveled at kind of like the GM, Chris Gear, and the handling of Tua Tagovailoa after his injury and things like the team doctors and all of those kind of things. Like, how is he cleared to play? Like, how was he able to play on when he was so clearly knocked out? And all of those kind of things. Like, there's serious questions to be asked there. So I think that Tyreek Hill is still very worth it for a team to go and get him.
LA,
the
Ravens, either LA team, the Ravens, the Packers, even the fucking Bears. Like, I could probably keep going. I mean, Arizona, could put him on air, give him the fucking Arizona.
All the noise that I've seen, every single piece of noise that I've read about the potential Tyreek Hill trade, and this is just because of the two names involved, Tyreek Hill and the Dallas Cowboys. Like, it is everywhere. Which
why does that seem like the most Jerry Jones shit ever anyway?
Yeah, exactly, right? It's the most Jerry Jones shit to have it all in the newspapers to then never do. That's the most Jerry Jones stuff. Like the Dallas Cowboys will be in the newspapers for trading for Tyreek Hill, the newspapers, or like however you take in your news if you're not a 1980s businessman, you know. But Tyreek Hill, it's the kind of trade that they're always in the running for, but then it never actually happens. That is not actually how the Cowboys conduct business. But there's no one in the first round that you're going to take that is better than Tyreek Hill. And the Cowboys now don't really have the wide receivers anymore. They've got CeeDee Lamb and they've just got rid of Brandon Cooks. So it's CeeDee Lamb and then like Jalen Tolbert, Kevondre Turpin and stuff like that. Like Tyreek Hill in there just makes a huge difference.
And whoever you traded for your 4th round pick.
Oh, Jonathan Mingo. Yeah, great.
Yeah. But so, and it's a perfect time for Miami to do it because they have 10 draft picks, get even more draft picks, and rebuild this team with a better culture, because this draft is not going to give you superstars, but it is going to give, well, there's going to be people who surprise us, but we don't see a lot of superstars, but it's going to give you a lot of starters. There is a lot of really good players in this draft. And I know people keep going, it's not that great of a draft. No, it's not a top-heavy draft. But in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, you're going to get guys that would have ranked in the higher rounds in previous years. Like, the depth is there. It's just not top-heavy. So if you're Miami, you already got 10 picks, and you can get, I don't know, a 1st and a 3rd for Tyreek. Yeah, I mean, do it. I mean, that's top 100 picks. Like,
yeah, like if you can get the Cowboys pick 12th overall, the players that they could take at 12th overall is really great for them. There's like obviously something really exciting for them to do would be then to take Ashton Genty or then to take a Marion Hampton. Like that would be stupid, but it would be very exciting for them to do. But there's loads of players that you can take in that slot if they go and get the 12th pick. So,
well, I don't know if you take Ashton Genty and you got all these draft picks, you replace a playmaker with a playmaker, and now you can get your depth everywhere else. That might not be the worst, because I consider him close to a blue chip player.
Yeah, I think it puts them in a. What I mean is they have so many holes in other players. Like they basically
but they're going to end up with 12 or 13 picks. If they trade him, they'll have 12 or 13 picks because they have 10.
Yeah, that is true. They just at 12 you can get Armand Membu, which I think does make a big difference for them. Or they can go get like a Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. Or they can go get like they'll be able to take Kenneth Grant with their later pick in the draft as well. Like, but I think it would be too tempting to add Ashton Genty to that. And it is also important to mention that Jalen Waddle is a very similar wide receiver style to Tyreek Hill. Like he's not Tyreek Hill, but he's a similar style. So he kind of takes that gap there. Look, I know Dolphins fans will probably be upset if they get rid of Tyreek Hill, but I don't think it's the end of the world for them if they do so.
No, and I mean, they could make a move like trade Tyreek, get those picks, and then I bet you for like a 3rd or a 4th, Minnesota would give you Jalen Naylor.
Yeah, definitely. And I think an interesting pick for them in the 2nd round would come in your to go get a quarterback for if anything happens to Tua again. And can you imagine like a Jalen Milroe in their system? Like, makes a lot of sense to me. Like Jalen Milroe, and really the idea is that he'll sit to improve and be able to improve his accuracy and improve his reading of the game. But then you have that athletic freak to just slot in there straight away as well.
Well, this is just off topic, but quick, I'll throw this out there. I think Will Howard ends up with the Seahawks in the late rounds to go back with Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator from Ohio State to end up replacing Geno Smith in the future.
Yeah, I actually like Will Howard quite a lot, and
I like him too. Like Seattle. I don't get the Will Howard hate. I don't. I think he's developmental, but I don't hate him.
Yeah, he's like, the thing is with these quarterbacks past, depending on how you feel about Jackson Dart, but definitely past the top two, and even with Cam Ward in there as well, I think they're all developmental. Like, I think Sheduer Sanders' ceiling isn't loads higher than this, but Sheduer Sanders' ceiling is made higher if he gets an offensive line that can actually, even just an offensive line that can just stand in the way, is better than what he's dealing with. Like some sort of speed bump element would be better than what he has at what he had at Colorado. So that's how he gets elevated. But his actual, the way he plays the game and everything is already kind of where he's at, right? But with Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, like, they're all developmental. There's all development that needs to happen there. So you're not picking them, really. This is one of the most draft classes I've ever seen where it's like, you're not picking them to start. You don't want to pick a lot of them to start, I would say. Obviously, Tennessee are.
If Miami sticks and picks, though, with their original pick, I got them taking Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State, because let's protect the guy who's been getting his brain scrambled.
Yeah, definitely. I think they have to. I think it has to be the O-line, doesn't it? Like, I have them here taking, like, they could go take like a Malachi Stark as well, but I think that's just because I kind of love Malachi Stark. I think he's great, but I don't want at safety. The Dolphins will be really stupid to draft a safety, but I just love that player so much that I feel like that's what they might do. But for me, I agree with you. I think it has to be. I think it has to be a tackle, and they could go get Membu as well. But Josh Simmons makes sense as well. Calvin Banks Jr. makes loads of sense as well. Grace Zabel makes sense later on. Josh Connolly, like, there's so many good tackles that can possibly convert to guards as well. But I think that's where they have to address in this draft coming out. And I agree with you with the culture, Jay.
The good thing for them is they have a lot of needs, so they can just wait and pick and see.
It's almost like they have so many needs, they can just take best player available, and that fills a need.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say for the Dolphins because of where people saw them going into last season. This season has to be it for Chris Grier, right? Like, Chris Grier has to get this draft right.
You would think so, but I almost admit, I'm sitting here thinking while you're going through it, and I'm like, if you trade and let's say you get 12, let's just say that trade happens, or he falls, do you take Sheduer Sanders and just trade Tua? Because we're done with the concussions.
Yeah, I mean, you get the contract off the book then as well, which is also important to remember that he did have a pretty chunky contract extension too. That's there. He's getting paid like 40 or 50 million this year. So you do get that off the book. Personally, I don't. I like Tua. I go and get one of the more.
You're always he's never gonna finish 17 games.
I get one of the more developmental guys to put them in there in the hope that Tua survives and give him the best chance of survival by giving him an offensive line to do it with. I I would see them taking another weapon to add to that, though. Because I think that Mike McDaniels is under loads of pressure. I would put him under loads of pressure because of how his offense looked when Tua wasn't there. Like, as soon as Tua was there, it was like, oh, yeah, Mike McDaniel's going to come into his own here. He's going to tear it up. Huntley is the perfect quarterback to kind of almost unlock his system because of his athletic abilities and stuff. And then nothing. They were terrible. They were really, really poor. So I think he might be he might be pushing for them to get more weapons for him to play with to make him look like the offensive genius again.
I think if they don't go with an offensive lineman, they're dumb as fuck. But I get your absolute point with what you're saying.
Yeah, they have to go offensive lineman, but they could go somewhere. Jay, is this potentially the division with the most hot seats in the league? So Sean McDermott, surely, if they fall at the playoffs again in a similar way, like I like Sean McDermott, and he clearly runs the Bills well, but if they fall at the playoffs again to the Chiefs or the Ravens again, like they've got to think they're moving on, or Mike McDaniel, like if he doesn't look like this offensive genius anymore, and then you have Aaron Glenn coming in, who's not in the hot seat, but the microscope will be on him as well. And then obviously Vrabel's probably got a long time in New England.
Vrabel's tenured already. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah. Vrabel's already tenured.
Yeah, things have to go very badly for Vrabel, but the coaching thing in this division is exciting. It'd be interesting to see. A team that's always exciting to see, but not maybe for the reasons that teams should be exciting to see, is the New York Jets. Jay, their offseason main free agent signing is Justin Fields. Jay, is this the right place for Justin Fields to go?
Sure, for him, because they're going to pay him. Like, why anybody's still paying this fucking guy is beyond me. But yes, because they're going to pay him. But here, I'm going to give Aaron Glenn, and he was in Detroit. I'm going to give him the best piece of advice for his whole motherfucking career. You call Dan Campbell right now, and you trade for Hendon Hooker. You trade for Hendon Hooker today. You trade for him fucking today. And there you got your starting. I love Hendon Hooker coming out of the draft. You trade for him right now. You let that dude start, and you're good to go. Like, you need some weapons. I mean, it's sad to say because they got Breece Hall and they got Wilson but they need some weapons because they lost a lot of fucking people too. And
they've lost a lot of talent.
But you gotta go get the quarterback right. Go get Hendon Hooker, even if it costs you your second round draft pick. Just go get him.
Yeah, obviously, I hadn't even thought of that. That does make a lot of sense to me. With Justin Fields, to be honest, I was surprised that he didn't stay in Pittsburgh because I think he did make sense as a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh. I think he's destined backup quarterback material for the rest of his career now because I think he's good enough to be the backup quarterback in the NFL, and he raises kind of like the floor of your team with his athletic ability, but he seems to have put away his athletic ability weirdly. Justin Fields, like, I'm not sure why he's put that away. Like, I feel like he should be more comfortable. He should be more comfortable in running. He went away from running the football in Pittsburgh. It's just run the ball, do what you're best at, man. Like, stop trying to do this. He looked like a slightly better passer in Pittsburgh. Obviously, he had 4 wins and 2 losses for Pittsburgh to start the season before his job was taken by Russell Wilson. But I don't think he should be starting for the. If you're the Jets, you don't want Justin Fields starting for you for an entire season either. I think it's an interesting guy to kick the tires on in the quarterback situation they're in.
I still don't understand why anybody wants him on their team.
Do you know what? I was weirdly surprised that they didn't go for Daniel Jones as well. I just a really let's just put all of the people who we have no idea like how they're still playing in the NFL, but every now and again that highlight reel looks amazing, and just put them in a place and just jumble them up. It's Jameis Winston in
Daniel
he's
Jones
a giant, isn't he?
Anything to do with that New York media anymore.
Yeah, I feel like the New York media is almost even harsher on the Jets than they are on the Giants as well.
Yeah, because it's Super Bowl rings. Like, yeah, you get a pass more. And then also in Indianapolis, you're not going to get killed by that small town media. It's like Green Bay. You don't get crushed by your local media.
Yeah, because they need to have kind of access to you as well, so you don't tear them apart, I guess. But yeah, Jay, the Justin Fields move is weirdly it's not a strange move for the Jets because they just don't have a quarterback and Justin Fields was there, so they had to take someone.
You go take Calvin Banks in the draft, get your guard. I know he's a tackle, but he's going to play guard. You go get Calvin Banks, and then you take a second or third round draft pick or a third and a fourth. I don't mean both. You take a second or a third or even a third and a fourth, and go get Hendon Hooker. Just go get your quarterback for the future. Let Justin Fields be, even if you start him the first few games, let him be a little bit of an overpriced backup. And there you go. And Aaron Glenn seems like a hard-nosed but good coach, so maybe he'll get something out of there. I do think it was a bad idea for New York to hire a defensive coach. But I get you want to try to recreate what the Lions have, but I'm not sure you want to recreate what the Lions have because I feel like we're going to watch the downfall of the Lions because how do you recover from losing two great coordinators in the same year?
Yeah. Well, it's so it happened with the Eagles, didn't it? So the Eagles, like,
I got more faith in Howie and Sirianni though than I do with what's going on in Detroit.
Yeah, I just the Eagles lost it the season before, and it went poorly. That's why they fell apart at the end of the season, right? Because they just lost their offensive and defensive coordinators. So then they go and get Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, and that's just genius. Was Fangio? Yeah. They have Kellen Moore and Fangio.
That's how Fangio destroyed Kansas City in the Super Bowl because he played them so many times as the coach of Denver.
Yeah, exactly. So that just really sets the tone. So you have to have those two great coordinators that now where Aaron Glenn is different to Dan Campbell and where Aaron Glenn is different to Sirianni is he is a defensive coordinator. So you only need an offensive coordinator for that to work. I guess is the difference there.
Right, but then we talked about if you have a great offense, you keep losing your offensive coordinator.
You always lose your offensive coordinator. Yeah. I would always rather get the offensive guy than the defensive guy, but I don't know. Aaron Glenn did a decent job with anybody. He arguably has more talent as the Jets defensive coordinator than he did have with Detroit.
I think he'll take them from a laughing stock to a decent team. I don't know if he can take them past that unless they find the right quarterback.
Yeah, they're going to struggle to do that with Justin Fields.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, Jay. Who do you think the Jets will be drafting this year in the draft? What are their positions of need? Who do you think they need to add?
So Calvin Banks, I think, is who they should take in the first round.
Yeah, Calvin Banks to play. Calvin Banks tackle.
But they have needs. But I would say Did I cut out?
Yeah, just a little bit, but go on.
Okay, quarterback, offensive line, tight end, 3 top needs.
Yeah. only the quarterback and the offensive line, just the entire basis of your team.
And a tight end.
Jets fix. Yeah, and another wide receiver, which is important as well. Like Teotaro McMillan would be an interesting addition. Like, would I be, when I need to fix my offensive line as badly as I do, would I be using a first round pick for that, and my 7th overall for Tatro McMillan. Maybe not, but he would be a good fit. Like because he's different to what Garrett Wilson offers. So you still use Garrett Wilson as your volume guy, and then Tatro is your big body guy there as well. So the wide receiver is the only one that I would add. There's also a case for interior defensive linemen, but I think they just pick up a big guy later on in the draft rather than taking one of those top ones like a Kenneth Grant or a Mason Graham while they're out there as well. Jay, our final team that we're moving on to is the New England Patriots. And the question I have for you, Jay, is to do with their biggest off-season signing, and that is the addition of Stephon Diggs. 3 years, $69 million, includes $26 million guaranteed. Did they overpay for Stephon Diggs?
No, because they gotta overpay right now to get guys in there, and they need to give weapons. I don't think that was their biggest offseason move, but I think, fleecing, stealing Milton from Philly was probably a better fucking move, but I think he's going to be more impactful. I don't know what Stephon's got left. I don't know. We're going to find out. I do know Drake May's about to die, though, because their upgrade at center, their great idea was fucking Bradbury from the Vikings, who I couldn't wait to get rid of for 4 years because anybody over 230 pounds could push him over. So I don't know. Like, I think they're going to get Drake May killed, but they better just go offensive line, defense. Like, I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah, they've got they went and took a Wes Schweitzer as well, a guard, but you kind of hope he's providing more depth. To deal with the wide receiver, they've also taken Mac Hollins, who I think is a really great fit for what they do with Drake May as well. As you say, Milton Williams is in there. They've also taken 100-year-old Morgan Moses to play offensive tackle as well as taking Carlton Davis. Now, all of that says to me, Jay, that they had the money to spend on Stephon Diggs. Like, paying this amount of money for Stephon Diggs hasn't hindered them from going and getting anybody else, apart from maybe Chris Godwin. Like, Chris Godwin is the one guy who they weren't able to get.
And why didn't they, you had this money to spend, why is Asante Samuel still not signed? Does he not want to go there? Because they did, and this is the thing, are you having a hard time getting free agents? Because on that NFL report card, they were 31st out of 32 teams as the second to worst team to play for, voted on by the players.
And Chris Godwin, what did Chris Godwin turn down for the? Chris Godwin turned down 20. He left $30 million on the table. Chris Godwin left $30 million on the table to not go to the Patriots, which says, they're just not in a great spot right now. They've got some good free agent signings in there, though.
It also says to me he has a good financial guy.
Yeah.
That he's made a lot of money off of the money he's already made because, dude, 30 million. I will go play on the Russian hockey team with Putin, and I will make sure that I let him score every fucking goal for a fucking 5-year period just to give me $30 million. Not what he left on, just what he left on the table.
Yeah, I also wonder what the income tax difference is on that, because obviously the tax up in Massachusetts, is it?
It is high, but you're talking 10% compared to nothing, right? Or 9.8%. 30, it ain't even coming close to 30 million. You know what I mean?
That is true. But it's that on the 30 million. So what's that about? Well, it's only you're losing about 3 million on that extra stuff. So probably not. Probably not.
It's our federal tax that's high. State tax is in Wisconsin it's 6.8, in California it's 12. You know what I mean? It varies. But I think Connecticut's 9.8, so 10.
I think there's also important stuff to mention on Chris Godwin there, though, that he has been in Tampa for all of his career. So there is that. Does it, like, if he'd left Tampa and gone to somewhere else, like, okay, that like that would be really bad for the Patriots if he left 30 million on the table, unless it's like a guaranteed Super Bowl contender, like the Chiefs or
and
the
I feel
Bills.
like Godwin feels like he's closer to a Super Bowl in Tampa than he is in New England too.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know Chris Godwin's family situation, but like his family are probably settled there. Like, as you say, he's probably got a money guy. That means he doesn't need the 30 million.
Right. He's probably one of these dudes who did not piss away his money. You know what I mean? He did invest in it. Yeah.
Yeah, he did the Chado Chocinco thing of sleeping in the stadium while he was getting paid millions.
No matter what anybody thinks of him, from what we hear, Aaron Rodgers' money is like he is so good with money that like there's a thought that he might actually be a billionaire one day.
Well, he's probably getting some insider trading tips from all of his anti-vax friends, isn't he?
Well, him and RFK, who knows what's going on with that? Okay, don't get me started with measles outbreaks because the head of our fucking health department's a fucking dumbass. But
sorry, everyone. But yeah, I think the Patriots have had, despite missing out on Chris Godwin and like not making huge leap forwards, I do think they've had a really successful off-season free agency period so far because they've actually used the money. Like, you see so many teams put together all of that money and then not actually use it effectively. And as you say, Milton Williams is a big pickup as well. And I think Stephon Diggs does make a big difference for them just because of who they had in the wide receiver room before he was there. He's just an immediate massive upgrade as well. Even if he's only running on like one leg, he still looked good in Houston. Mac Hollins is a sneaky great pick. Like, Drake May to Mac Hollins feels like a good pairing already. Like, big body, spectacular catch rate Mac Hollins with Drake May feels really good. And look, they need to attack the offensive line, no doubt. The issue for the Patriots is the offensive lineman take at 4th overall doesn't feel appealing. Like, it feels like a straight reach, whoever you take a offensive line there.
Really, because I think Will Campbell is a perfect draft pick right there.
For me, I think Will Campbell is like just breaking into the top 10. I mean, you're splitting hairs. Like, you're splitting hairs at that point when you're talking between like the difference between 4 and 10, when it's like actual projection to the NFL. But who could fall to 4 to them is Travis Hunter. Could fall to 4. Do you stay and pick Travis Hunter?
Well, you
Abdul
have to.
Carter?
No, if either of those two dudes fall, Carter's not falling. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Pass rusher is the second best. And I think this dude is Micah Parsons 2.0. Like, I think he plays the same way. And
it's
if you
even
watch
the Penn State in the 11.
Yeah, and you watch him play, and I see Micah Parsons, there's no way that dude is not getting picked. But I get what you're saying. But Travis Hunter, if because of the quarterbacks, Travis Hunter does fall to them, then yeah, you run that fucking. You don't even take any of that 15 minutes. You just run that card up. You don't listen to trades, nothing, and you just take Travis Hunter and put him on that team. And no matter what you do with him, you put him across from Gonzalez on the defense, or you put him across from Stephon Diggs on the offense, you're good.
You could do both. Like, I don't understand this. It's got to be either. Like, especially with wide receiver.
Do you do that to a rookie, though? It'd have to be spot duty on one or the other. It couldn't be like this kid playing both ways every play.
Well, it's third wide receiver. It's third wide receiver for the Patriots, isn't it?
You think? I think he'd be wide receiver 1.
No. So I think he is wide receiver 1 in terms of talent, right? He is wide receiver 1 in terms of talent. But if you have Stephon Diggs and you have Mac Hollins, then you're able to put him at wide receiver 3. Whereas on the defensive side of the ball, he is cornerback 2. Like, you just put him at cornerback 2. That's what you have to do from Gonzalez, whether he is talent-wise cornerback 1.
I am interested to see how teams figure out to play him, right? Because what are they going to do? Because you and I both agree that a shutdown corner is more important than a top wide receiver because what you can get
Yeah.
more wide receivers. But if I'm Travis Hunter, you're paying me like a fucking wide receiver. I'm like, when I go to that second contract, I'm not trying to get $20 million a year. I'm trying to get 40.
Well, there's new cornerback deals that are coming out with like fucking J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain are pretty tasty. Like they're getting up there.
Now you look at Jamar Chase at $40 million a year. Like, yeah.
To be honest, I don't see Travis Hunter as Jamar Chase. I don't see him as Jamar Chase. I don't see him as Justin Jefferson. I don't think he's as good as either of those two coming out.
I think he's one of the most spectacular athletes we're going to see, and his amazing catches, and he is just the most humble, quiet, good dude.
Yeah, I love the stuff with his girlfriend, like with Travis Hunter. So like people are mean as fuck. Like people are horrible as shit about his girlfriend, like being like, you're going to be one of the highest paid people you're going to be one of the most famous people in the NFL. Why are you still with this ugly girl? Like, and stuff like that. And it's like, hey man, like chill the fuck out. Like Travis Hunter isn't a great looking guy either. Like calm down.
She brought
and he
it
like
on
stands up for and stuff.
With her comments about I didn't even really like him and all that kind of shit. That's what.
Cynthia didn't really like me either. So like that's just normal. Like you're not meant to like your partner when you first meet them, no. Like maybe you and Sandy are just all love at first sight.
It started with an L, but it ended with a T. I think it was more like lust at first sight, but like
okay.
Yeah.
I think Cynthia just found me generally annoying, which I think is an excellent way to start any relationship, I would say. But so
you grew on her like normal. A mole, Maddie. You grew on her like a mole.
Thank fuck for COVID, and she had to get locked up in my parents' attic.
Why does that sound terrible when you say it like that? Creepy shit I've ever heard. Like, all right, Jeffrey Epstein. Fuck.
It was. I said it in a way that was designed to be creepy. By the way, guys, what happened was Cynthia got stuck in the UK because of COVID and couldn't go back to Latvia, so she came and lived with my parents in our 3-story house, which has a room in the attic, which was my childhood bedroom. Yeah, that's what that was about.
They fed her twice a day and unchained her for an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And then like she was able to have a free time in a Harry Potter closet under the stairs. So
what is that syndrome called where you fall in love with your captor?
Stockholm.
Stockholm you got syndrome. Stockholm syndrome.
We are so off topic right now. But Travis Hunter, I really like Travis Hunter, and I think that he fits in with the Patriot way. God, I hope they get rid of the fucking Patriot way. Maybe that's what a lot of free agents are doing. I wonder if a lot of free agents are wondering to see if the Patriot way will kind of change over the next year before they go there. And I guess we'll see. Jay, who else do you think the Patriots could pick there? I think if I'm them, I want to trade back. If I want Will Campbell, I'm going to try and trade back.
Okay, but hear me out. Ashton Genty to go with Drake May.
Yeah, pretty. I feel like Amarian Hampton is probably more there. I feel like you trade back and then possibly trade back in for Hampton.
If you can trade back, right? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Maybe if Sheduer's there, maybe the Raiders come up, you trade back to 9.
Yes. Yeah. If Sheduer's there, then you call teams like the Raiders, you call the Steelers, you call the Saints.
The Steelers see what is a big drop though. That's going back to 21.
Yeah, that's a huge drop, but obviously for huge compensation.
Maybe you call Dallas and maybe Jerry wants to
I call Dallas. If I call Dallas immediately to see if they're coming up to 4 as well. But as you say, I think if Abdul Carr is there, you have to pick him. If Travis Hunter is there, you have to pick him. Anybody else, I'm calling back to try and stay in the top 15 so I can take Will Campbell, Calvin Banks, Josh Simmons, insert tackle to insert whichever tackle's your favorite.
If Carter's still there, 3 GMs should be fired.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
I don't understand why the Tennessee Titans aren't talking about him. So like that.
We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this before the draft a lot more. But I don't understand where it came about that Cam Ward is just the consensus number 1 overall pick. I just don't get it.
I think it's his ceiling.
Yeah, it's got to be right. But we'll talk about it more when we go on. Jay, questionable decision has been made by the Steelers during this draft as well, during this offseason, trading Joe Milton to the Dallas Cowboys. Do you get that pick? I find it a strange one, right?
It's because, and this is what's coming out, it's because he's so good in practice that they don't want players on the team thinking he should start over Drake May.
I honestly think that Joe Milton could start for the Dallas Cowboys in 2 years' time when Dak Prescott's contract comes up. Like, he was amazing. He looked amazing in that game. I know it was against the Bills' backups, but he looked amazing.
I don't want to jinx anybody, but Milton could be playing for the Cowboys by week 7.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, depending on things like injuries.
You're right, because Dak might just get murdered, and
yeah, Dak misses a couple of games every year. So we'll see Milton in a Cowboys jersey this year, and it's a massive upgrade from Trey Lance. So that's good. But yeah, I didn't understand that weird roster building stuff. And what I never get about that, I don't want my guy to be overshadowed in practice. It's like, I'm sorry, if he can't handle it, then he probably can't handle being a quarterback in the NFL.
And I'm sorry that you spent all that on Drake May, but if Milton's a better quarterback, the smart thing to do is to play him and trade Drake May. So I don't know.
If Milton is the better quarterback than Drake May, then Milton must be unbelievable, by the way. Because Drake May was
I'm just saying, though, if that's the problem, you play the best guy and you get rid of the other one. Like, I don't like.
I wonder if the way that Drake May plays doesn't translate to practice. Like, I could see that. Like, the reason Drake May has been so good is while he's getting the shit kicked out of him by defensive linemen, he's making throws. Like, he's toughing out and making throws. Obviously, in practice, he's not getting the shit kicked out of him by defensive linemen because they're not going to let that happen. So I wonder if there's that element to it. There could be, but yeah. That seemed a weird bit of business. And for the first time in a while, a good bit of business by the Dallas Cowboys there in trade stuff. Jay, we always end these shows by predicting the way that the AFC that the division is going to finish up. This is our AFC East way too early predictions. Who have you got? We'll go from worst to first. So who have you got in fourth? You just go worst to first, fourth for second.
I got Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, Bills.
Yeah. So Bills at the top, right? It's Bills at the top. Oh my God. Yeah, it's got to be the Jets. It's got to be the Jets, doesn't it? So Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, Bills. I agree with you. I feel like Vrabel will sort out the offensive line.
That's it. If you were going to ask me why, I was going to tell you Vrabel. That's it. That was my answer. Vrabel.
Yeah, I feel like Vrabel sorts out the offensive line in this. And they've already added a lot of bodies to the offensive line who are upgrades to what they had there before.
You know why I love Mike Vrabel?
Go on.
When he was asked about should they get rid of the tush push, and he's like, why? Because it's hard to defend? Well, then let's make a rule that Lamar Jackson can't run because that's hard to defend too. Like, you know what I mean? I love Vrabel for shit like that. He's like, it's football, like fucking stop. And then they keep saying it doesn't look like a football play. It absolutely looks like a football play, you fucking morons. You ever watch goal line football? That's exactly what it looks like. You know, it looks like a scrum, a rugby scrum. No, it doesn't. I've watched enough bit.
They're not even rugby. Close to the same.
Doesn't look like a rugby scrum. There's not guys locked in and like I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking.
It's also just like, did you watch football? Have you watched like old timey clips from like the 1950s? Like that's just what football. Do you remember when you just like didn't throw? Like
right.
when like throwing just like wasn't really a thing. Like that's what football looked like. It was just I'm bigger than you. I'm going to push you over, even though they were all skinny white boys.
I bet. Okay, so I'm going to run through these quick. I'm sure we both agree. Electronic first downs, great idea. Why the chain gang still there? No idea. Let's get 80-year-old
nostalgia. Yeah.
I'm sure we both agree. Replay assist, giving more to the refs to throw a flag is great. I think it's stupid, or to pick up a flag. I do think it's stupid that they can't tell them to throw a flag. That still doesn't make sense to me. Like that Sam Darnold face mask, they should have been able to radio down him and like, that's blatant as shit. I'm not saying ticky-tack stuff, but blatant shit. But okay, it's getting better. We got to be happy about that. What do you think?
The one problem that I have with that is it encourages referees to throw the flag on softer shit. So we see it. You see it in like European sports where we use a lot more replay assist now, right? Where now they're more obligated to give it because then they can go to the video assist to see if they were right about it, which leads to a lot of stoppages in play, which also leads to ideas on they have to find a reason. It has to be clear and obvious why you didn't give it, right? So if it's like, oh, kind of a ticky-tack play, they won't overturn it. So that's the one thing to look out for. But I think it is better. I agree with you.
And then what do you think about the touchback now moving to the 35?
Yeah, it leads to more exciting return plays. So like leads to more potential for more exciting return plays. So I'm good with that. More players get injured on special teams than any other play.
Why do we need more return plays? There was more last year than the year before. Why does it need to be even more than that? Why do we need to 30 to 35? Why do we have to put the balance of a game on a stupid fucking kicker's foot to kick the ball in the right fucking place? I don't like. I hate it. I hate that the game could literally turn off the kicker's fucking foot. I hate it.
There's not a lot more exciting than a return for a touchdown in the NFL, in my opinion.
You know what's more exciting than a return for a touchdown? A win. A fucking win.
Yeah, but winning from a return from a touchdown, a return for a touchdown, I think is incredibly exciting. But one of the reasons why it is so exciting, Jay, is because it's so unlikely. Like because it never really happens. I think we're going to see
a ton of touchdowns because some stupid kicker is going to fucking kick the ball wrong. And then these guys who are playing fucking weird two-line of scrimmage football off of each other are going to miss a fucking block or miss a fucking, and then all of a sudden miss an assignment. And we're going to see these big, wide open touchdowns. And I think it's fucking stupid. And I think all we're going to do, I literally think by the middle of the season, it's going to be the same thing again. And they're just going to say, okay, give them the 35. Give them the 35.
Yeah, I agree. I there's no need to mess around with it this much. Like, let the big thing would be to do here is let the coaches take hold, right? So give them another year of the rules and let the coaches try and figure out ways around it and stuff like that. Like, the longer the rules in place, the more the coaches try and cheat the fucking rule, and that's better than forging rules to make it easier to do. I would say I love returns for touchdowns, but I only love returns for touchdowns because they're rare. Like, they feel
special. I'm going to be so pissed off if they overturn the tush push too, because they're going to talk about it at the next meeting.
Yeah. If they overturn the tush push, I hate the tush push, but only because the Eagles are better at it.
Guess how many injuries there has been on tush push plays?
I remember Jalen Hurts getting hurt on a tush push play. I remember Jalen Hurts coming up and missing the rest of the game from a tush push play. But he didn't miss the next game, so it doesn't count. It only counts if you miss games, those injury statistics. But yes, compared to special teams plays, it is crazy. The other thing with the tush push, Jay, is other teams have tried it now and can't do it. So
yeah, the Bills are the only other ones who are any good at it.
Yeah, and so it is just the fact that the Eagles have created a play that they're just better at than everybody else. So, like, does that mean we take away go routes from Tyreek Hill?
Well, no, I think it means Patrick Mahomes can no longer throw sidearm.
Yeah, or like some sort of weird no look stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like take away deep crossing routes from Tyreek Hill. Like you're not allowed to throw screens to Saquon Barkley anymore. Like
Harrison Smith can't intercept the football anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Trayvon Diggs has to bat it down every time he wants to catch the ball.
Like, what are we doing?
It's just like it's been in, and they've just proven that they're better at everybody else than it. So actually, if they wanted to ban it, it would have been in the first season. Like that would have been the time. But now they've given everybody the opportunity to catch up, and now the Eagles.
Do they really think that Saquon Barkley's hand on Jalen Hurts' ass is why this works? No, it's because that offensive line gets so motherfucking low, blows everybody off, and you have a quarterback that squats like 2 million pounds. Like, fuck are we doing?
And Saquon Barkley then runs in and absolutely belts him over the line. If all else fails, like Saquon Barkley's only there in the case that it fails, really, just to give that extra shunt over the line. So
him and Goddard, if you watch him, he rides with one hand on the ass looking for somebody to block in front and to give more room. So like, I'm like, can they stop? Like the Eagles, you can ban pushing and the Eagles will still get that play because of the leverage and because their quarterback has tree trunks for legs.
As much as I hate the Eagles, like they should be allowed to keep that tush push. That's
like I hate the idea. And I hate the idea that it was the bitch ass whiny Packers who brought it up.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It's the people who you most expect. Like that saying is it's always the people you least expect. No, it is always the people you most expect. Always. Jay,
unless you're in court, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Jay, another great show on off-season needs. The AFC East, I think, is one of the most interesting divisions that we've got so far this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch how it plays out with Vrabel. I don't know how exciting their games will be, but like it'll be fun to see how it plays out with Vrabel. We'll see what Glenn's got going on in fucking New York. I think they got to just get better, but they got to figure out that quarterback position. And I don't know why, but I truly think Miami's just going to fucking self-destruct this year.
Yeah, I can see it as well. They just need to get they need to get Tyreek Hill out of the building, I would say.
And they have a bad owner too, which doesn't help.
Yeah. Bad owner, bad GM, question mark on the coach, disruptive leader in the dressing room.
Yeah. Coach seems like an amazing person, not sure he's great to lead a team. I don't know.
I think he's an excellent offensive coordinator, probably, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe. Make sure you check out all the other shows. The NBA's been heating up, and Montana and David are killing it over there. MMA Underground's just been growing, so go check that out. And make sure you get live in the chats, guys. We'd like to hear from you. I see the count go up and down, and nobody's in the chat. Get in the chats with us. Don't be shy. Tell us we're fucking idiots if you want even. We're good with that.
Yeah. Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. And Jay, I just want to finish on this. Congratulations to Rory McIlroy for winning the Masters and being the only 6th golf player to complete a career Grand Slam, which is winning all of the majors.
Congrats to Rory. Tiger had the Tiger Slam, but it doesn't count.
Tiger's
in the right order.
Well, Tiger's the 5th as well. Yeah, he didn't have it all in one year. But Tiger was the 5th. Rory's the only person to do it.
Right, but Tiger would have had it like 2 or 3 times if he'd have won them in the right order.
Yeah.
Or something. It was weird. Yeah, so it's a Tiger Slam. It's golf is one of those things that I can watch the end of the last 5 holes of a tournament, but I can't sit there all day and watch it. But I love playing it.
I'll watch the last day of any major tournament. But my favorite, I don't watch golf religiously, but one of my favorite sports events is the Ryder Cup. I love the Ryder Cup. Like Europe versus USA in a golf tournament is just brilliant. That is so fun.
Yeah, and I tried to watch a live event, and that is some of the weirdest shit ever, and I can't do it. So PGA and live, figure it out. There's too much money for you two to not figure this shit out.
I feel like Donald Trump spends all of his time at live things rather than going to American war hero graves in Lithuania.
Just Google how much he's already cost taxpayers in golf trips this year, and you'll be amazed. But okay. And go Google that shot where he ricocheted it back at himself. That shit was hilarious. But
he definitely didn't write that in his scorecard.
Yeah, he probably didn't. You're right.
He doesn't write that shit in his scorecard. Not a chance.
No, I did see that he holds like records at a bunch of golf courses, but nobody could verify the scores. So you know.
Have you seen the film The Dictator with Sacha Baron Cohen?
No.
Oh, right, okay. There's this scene where like he's running the 100 meters and he just shoots like the two other runners in the leg and then just goes and wins, and it's just like him winning all the gold medals at their games.
Yeah, it's like Putin scoring goals in hockey.
Yeah. Yeah, same deal.
Putin can barely skate, but he ends up with 8 fucking goals in a game, you know. So
sure.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe. And we will be back with more, and we will give you some draft coverage before we get to the draft. And I'm going to be live at the draft, so keep your eye open. I'll post some of it on YouTube, but a lot of it will be going on Facebook Live. You can check out what's going on there, too. All right.
Live at the draft, like actually physically at the draft is the most important to reiterate there. Jay is actually there.
Yes, I'm excited. It's weirdly... I'm a little nervous, weirdly.
If you hear someone booing the Green Bay Packers picks, it's Jay. That's the way to know he's there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go try to catch a Pat McAfee show live, and if I do that, I'll get you guys some coverage of that too. So, all right, everybody, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.